property. Nancy's here from the Eddy County DWI Task Force. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Good. Did you get to see any fireworks last night?
I got to see lots of fireworks. It was fun. It was a good evening for it. Weather was good.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, it got a little breezy, but when you're around inside a 7-foot fence, you don't really have that much problems with the breezy.
Yeah, no, when you're out at the west end of J.C. Park.
Yes.
We got the wind.
Yes.
But no, it was a great show, and it looked like everybody had a great time. So
we live just far enough away that we can see the whole show and listen to the music, of course, and then we get all of our neighbors. They were all shooting off fireworks this year. It was quite a display.
Yeah.
I was very careful to shut my dog up carefully so he didn't get loose. We lost our dog last year.
Oh.
She ran away.
Yeah.
And my husband was in the hospital, and she's a little dog. She's a little tiny thing. And she ran all the way from our house on Blevins Road to Hermosa.
Wow.
And some people there found her, and how she managed to get through the pecan orchards and cross roads, and
wow,
it was a miracle.
But
so I learned my lesson very well last year.
The dog is in the house.
In the house.
And is not going anywhere until we had a dachshund that would go under the bed. I mean, Friday night, boom, at the football field, under the bed. And then about halftime, he'd come crawling out to see what was going on. Second half, boom. He was under the bed, and we didn't see him the rest of the night.
Dachshunds are strange little dogs.
Yeah.
This one, she was half Dachshund.
Yeah.
And she's that side of her was, yeah. We just won't even go there.
Well, what would you like to talk about today?
A friend of mine sent this to me, and I copied it down off of her thing, and it's basically really talking about parents, the influence that we have on our kids,
right? And
what we should be doing as far as drinking and driving and talking to our kids and this thing. But this story was written by a journalist in 1997 that came up on this particular incident, this horrible car crash, and she was holding the young woman, and she just wrote this afterwards about what this young woman was talking about and saying. So I just thought I would bring it and read it, and we'd go from there.
Okay.
I went partying tonight, Mom. I went to a party and remembered what you said. You asked me not to drink alcohol. You remember that, Mom? That's why I drank a Sprite. I felt really proud of myself. I made a healthy choice, and your advice was right. And when the party was over, people started to leave, but I noticed they were drinking in no condition, or they were driving in no condition to drive. I was certain that I would go home safe and in peace. I never expected what happened, Mom. Now I'm lying on the road, and I hear a cop say, "This guy caused this wreck, and he was driving drunk." Mom, your voice seems so far away. My blood spilled everywhere, and I'm trying my best not to cry. I hear them saying, "This girl's going to die." He, like me, had gone to a party, but he decided to drink and drive, and now I'm dying. Why do people do this, Mom, knowing it will ruin lives? Pain is shooting through me like 100 sharp knives. Please tell my sister don't be scared. Tell Daddy to be strong, and I love him and you so much. I wish I could give you one last kiss. Someone should have told this kid not to drink and drive. I wish he knew, and I wish he had listened. Maybe if his parents had told him, I would be alive now. My breathing is getting weak, Mom. I'm so scared. These are my last moments, and I feel so desperate. I wish I could hug you, and you were here with me while I lay here dying. I wish I could tell you I love you. I can't feel my body anymore. Mama, I love you. Goodbye. I thought that was so powerful. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to get all emotional, but I don't know that all parents realize how important they are to their children as examples, and how important it is to talk to them about these things. I mean, nobody ever talked to me about it, but I just wasn't a drinker anyway. But I just look at it and I think, how many people do I know that drink a lot, and it's okay for the kids to drink without any caution whatsoever? And after reading this, I thought, how many accidents, not accidents, how many wrecks are caused just like this over and over again? And I know I mentioned before Jackie's story. And if you haven't gone to watch Jackie's story, it's a perfect example of this, only Jackie lived. But how she lived has been pretty horrific because of her injuries. And the young man that ran into her, he's in prison. Maybe this young man went to prison. Is that what you want for your kids?
Right.
No, that's not what you want either. So I'm just trying to say in my way, please talk to your kids. Please talk to them seriously, and then be a good example in front of them. If they see you going out and you've been drinking and you're driving, what kind of an example is that? So
when you do talk to them, but you're not following that advice.
Right. They're empty words.
Right.
And it's not easy being a parent, not in any way, and I understand that. But we have to be parents, and we have to make some strong decisions about what our kids are doing, especially at the age of when they're first starting to drive, and teenage years and all of this, when experimenting with life, so to speak, like we all did.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say that. I did, but I didn't experience with alcohol. But just please, please, please talk to your kids and make it be a strong example.
Yeah. Because you don't want to have your kid wind up like this young lady, or you don't want to have your kid be the one responsible for what happened to this young lady. That's just not the way that it needs to be. So you need to think about that, and you wonder how many people at parties and stuff like that, or when they go out camping or go out on family trips like that, think about setting a good example.
I hope everybody does, but I know they don't.
Right.
You know, it's just one of those things that, oh, you've done it 1,000 times before and no problems, so let's go again. And then you've got to remember, too, if you have your kids in the car with you and you get caught, or you have a, God forbid, a wreck, they're working on making the child abuse charges stick in those cases. If they catch you with kids in the car and you're drinking, and I think that's 100% what needs to happen. Those kids don't deserve that.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a horrible crash, and how many have we seen?
Well, it's been a bunch. So the reason behind making it a child abuse situation is because the actual violation of the drinking and driving is not tough enough that we're going to have to pile that on top of it, or why don't we make the other
I'm not
tougher?
really sure just how they're going to do that. I just know, and I think we talked about this before, that in Albuquerque they have stuck that on one family that had, I believe, 3 kids in the car, and they were stone cold drunk. And it is child abuse. Let's face it. Sometimes we like to water things down a little bit. We, not me, but a lot of people do. And it's about time. I think it's time for that.
Yeah.
Should have happened a long time ago. Same way as driving with a phone, which is your pet peeve. You know, if you've got those kids in the car, you need to think about them. Obviously, you're not thinking about your own safety.
Yeah.
but think about your kids' safety.
Well, and I wonder too, I mean, people that leave their kids in the car or their pets in the car on a hot day, what are they thinking? You know, why do we have to run public service announcements to tell people not to leave young children and pets in a hot car with the windows rolled up on a hot summer day? And you would think that would just be common knowledge, you know, that you don't do that. But, you know, some cars have reminders that if you leave something in the back seat, alarms go off. I could not imagine. But I guess people get so wrapped up in their day-to-day, and they got their face in their phone and stuff like that, or whatever it is they're rushing to, that you would forget that you got a kid in the back seat.
I don't buy it. I honestly don't. I mean, I can just see a mom, well, I'm going to just be in there a minute, and I'll be right back out. And then that minute turns into an hour, and then here you go. But it's kind of the same thing with the drinking and the driving. It's you got to set an example. You got to remember, for some people there's a time and a place, and for everybody there's a time and a place not to be doing that. And so it's just important that be demonstrated, that example be done. And then if you're going to tell a kid, don't do this or do this, you probably ought to be in the same mindset yourself, or it's just not going to mean anything. So it's funny, you just reminded me of something. My husband and I were in a drunk driving accident on Hermosa and First, and we had our little dog with us. This little dog was a little bitty guy, and his ears were longer than his legs. So he was always tripping over them, and he was about 4 or 5 months old, and he was with us, and he was killed in that accident, in that wreck. I keep calling it accident, it's not. And I was thinking, you know, it's not always people, it's pets.
Right, that are victims.
They're in this, they're victims too. And they rip your heart out when something happens to them, just like if it happened to your children or your spouse or whatever. But I don't even know, you said something about pets and that just triggered a memory.
Right.
But
some things are beyond our control. Something, a mechanical malfunction, something like that. There's types of situations can happen. But drinking and driving, and unfortunately the example you read from the letter, the girl did everything right.
Yes.
So sometimes it's under our control, and we do everything that we can within our control, but we've got to get folks to heed this message and follow this advice, so that they don't become the catalyst that leads to the death and the destruction and the tragedy that happens to families.
I would say probably 100% of the time, the people in the other car were minding their own business, doing what they should have been doing.
Yeah.
Going down the road, going someplace, going to have a good time, and here comes a drunk driver.
Yep. So
a totally preventable situation.
That's right. So. Absolutely. If folks need some materials, like they've got a group or just some basic help, does the Eddy County DWI Task Force, can they help out?
They can help out a bunch. They've got all kinds of resources, and they can just give me a call, and I can get them in touch with them. Or,
okay.
Okay.
Nancy, thank you.
You have my number and everything, so just call